This is the Louie T Network.
I'm ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
Overtime. So we head to overtime.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to Thursday Night Football Overtime. The Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Oakland Raiders. Good old-fashioned AFC West family business. You know how the family do it. If these two teams said they ain't did it, then they ain't did it. But if they did, well, that's family business. And boy, was this some good family business or what? By far and away, the best game we've seen on primetime television this season. The Chiefs arguably have played in the two best games we've seen on primetime this season, on a Monday night against the Redskins. And now this one takes the cake versus the Raiders in the most crazy and impossible ending you could imagine. Like 9 different last plays of the game. Raiders score, then they don't score, then they get an OPI, looks like they're going to lose. And then they score again, and it's just crazy how this game ended. A lot of ebbs and flows, a lot of plays that impacted this game throughout, some bad calls by the officials, some plays that really impacted how this game would ultimately end up. But nonetheless, a humongous win for the Raiders. They had to have this. They go to 2-5. Their season is probably effectively over. And for the Chiefs, I've said this a number of times going back to the Redskins game on Monday night in week number 4. They're undoing this season if they don't win big. If this team doesn't end up in the AFC Championship game, if this team doesn't win the AFC West, it will be because of this defense. I told you that in week 4. I have not been impressed. And when they needed a sack, they got no pressure on on Derek Carr late in this ball game. And they didn't get a sack the entire game. And I told you that's a problem for this Chiefs football team. They're not getting to the quarterback. They're not impacting the quarterback and his ability to scan the field and find targets to throw the football to. That secondary can be exploited. You saw that the Chiefs had some issues in that secondary. Eric Murray was picked on repeatedly, mercilessly on the day. They kept going to the matchup wherever he was, which was usually against Jared Cook Jr. Also, you saw a humongous game out of Amari Cooper, and they've been waiting on Amari Cooper to show up. Still some drops from him in this game, but 11 catches, over 200 yards. I'd say this was a big coming out party for Amari Cooper, and it was well needed. They needed every single one of those yards, touchdowns. And at the end of the game, you knew they were going to craps. And Tony Romo was saying on the telecast, they're going to double Amari for what? The guy that they go to in these situations, they don't trust Amari Cooper to catch the football. And why should they? They go to the guy with the most sure hands on the team, that being Michael Crabtree. You knew they were going to crabs. They went to him on the push-off and the OPI. They came back to him on the sprint out to the corner of the end zone. Beautifully executed play. He pushed off again, but I like the no call on this one. The first one was definitely OPI. What an ending. What a game. Big, big win for the Raiders. We're going to jump into this thing knee deep and really pick apart this football game. A lot of different plays that helped us get to a 31-30 ending for the Raiders in this football game as they get to 3-4 on the season. Chiefs, after starting 5-0, have now dropped 2 straight games. Welcome to the program. Wow, what a finish. What a game. Thursday Night Football Overtime. Don't you just love it? I'm your man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me on the program. If you haven't already done so, subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content in 2017 and beyond. We're changing the game over here. Want you to help us do that by hitting that subscribe button. I've got a number of social media platforms that will keep you abreast of what's going on here on the Louie T Network. All of those are down in the description below, so check that out. There's Instagram, there's Twitter, there's Facebook, there's more, including a way to donate to the channel. This is how you do so, through Patreon or PayPal. There are a number of perks that you can get if you donate through Patreon. I'll have a video coming out in the very short future describing that. So that is also going to be in the description below, the links that you just saw before you in the description. So if you want to donate to the Louie T Network, please, by all means, do so. If you cannot donate, all I ask is that you continue to support the channel by watching, liking, and sharing the videos. That being said, let's jump right into this thing. We start with the winners because, of course, to the victors go the spoils. Raiders get it done 31-30 in dramatic fashion in this football game over their most hated rivals in the Kansas City Chiefs. What a game. And Derek Carr showed up big. The 4 car was officially back in this game. The offense had been very stagnant over the last 4 weeks in that 4-game losing streak. This team struggled offensively, the likes of which we haven't seen since Derek Carr has taken over as the quarterback of this team. And so it was a rough go of it after starting the season 2-0. This was a big game, and they had to have this. Todd Downing, their offensive coordinator, said, you're going to see a much better offensive showing tonight. You're going to see us be a little bit more wide open, and we're going to cut it loose. And that's what we saw tonight. We saw a team that looked a lot more like the team from last year. This is a game that last year's Raiders win. Okay, and I thought I was going to come up here and say this is a game that last year's Raiders team finds a way to win and this year's team doesn't. But they found a way to get it done, and this could be a turning point in their season. We start on the offensive side of the football because that's where this game was won. Derek Carr was outstanding in this football game. I thought he did a great job of going back to what has gotten this Raiders team to the point where they are now as one of the better offenses in the league, and that's giving his receivers a chance to win. A lot of 50-50 balls in this game, a lot of man-to-man coverage on the outsides, a lot of taking advantage of some matchups that they liked. They loved Jared Cook on Eric Murray. That was the matchup they went to, including that big, huge 4th and 10 late in the ball game that they had to convert to keep the game alive. They went after Murray all night long. They went after Mitchell on the outside. Terrence Mitchell struggled. He had some plays. He made some plays, but they went after him. Amari Cooper had a huge game. It started early with Coop. The deep ball down the field that he was able. Look, that was a push-off. I thought that the officials should have thrown the flag there. They did throw the flag. They needed to keep that flag on the ground because that was OPI. There's no way you can allow a receiver to get away with that kind of contact that directly. And yes, Mitchell may have fallen down. If it was Mitchell, it might have been Gaines. Either way, that DB might have fallen down without the contact, but it sure didn't help that Amari Cooper was able to push and half-heartedly extended. He didn't fully extend or else they would have kept the flag down. But nonetheless, his contact is what really initiated the fall, which I thought was no way you can allow that to be a touchdown. But they picked it up. That was a huge no call in the game. Cooper had another touchdown. And this is when you know a guy is starting to get back into the rhythm and feel. He catches a simple over route over the middle of the field, and he's about 25 yards away from the end zone, and he just turns on the afterburners, beats the defender's angle, gets up the sideline. They can't catch him. That's the Amari Cooper that we've come accustomed to, the one that has had 1,000 yards receiving in his first 2 years in this league, the one that has been a go-to guy for this Raiders football team. He showed up in this game. Like I said, there were some drops in this game from Cooper, including a deep ball down the field where he had a chance to high point it and go up and get it, and he went right through his hands. There's another one on the 3rd down, straight through the wickets. The Raiders had to punt, but nonetheless, 11 catches, 200 and some change for Amari Cooper, 2 huge touchdowns. He showed up big in arguably the biggest game of the season for the Raiders. They had to have this one. Cooper was outstanding. Cook was outstanding in this game. He had a couple of drops, but again, when they needed him to make plays, none bigger than that final drive, the 4th down conversion where he was able to separate from Eric Murray, catch the football, and get the 1st down. The big catch that looked like the game winner, or at least the game-tying touchdown. That was later overturned and ruled down at a half-yard line. But then that one in the end zone that they called holding on, which was a holding penalty, he should have caught that football. A little high, but I expect him to come down with that nonetheless. He was outstanding in this game. He was a mismatch nightmare. And this is exactly why the Raiders went out and got him in free agency, because they knew Clive Walford wasn't the type of guy that could win these types of matchups consistently. They knew they needed a difference maker at tight end. They've got one now in Jared Cook Jr. Marshawn Lynch, is it me, or has he been the biggest waste of hype all season long. Raiders fans were so excited about Marshawn Lynch's arrival in Oakland. They thought that was going to change the game on the ground. He's been non-existent all season for me. It got thrown out of this game foolishly, unnecessarily. That's a whole nother play that we'll get to when we get to the Chiefs side of things, because they made a lot of mistakes in this game, and that was one of them. But I feel like Marshawn Lynch isn't really doing much to help this team except down by the goal line when they are at the 1 yard line and they want to punch it in. But I don't see the value in him with this offense right now. And you didn't miss a beat with him in the locker room after he got ejected in the second quarter. So for me, I'm just not on board with this whole move of bringing in Marshawn Lynch. He doesn't hurt you. He's just not helping as much as we thought he was going to help this Raiders football team. But the offensive line looked more like the offensive line we have been accustomed to. And you did that with Vidal Alexander at right tackle. And I already told you, I'm not a Marshall Newhouse fan. I've been telling you that all season long. Maybe Vidal Alexander needs to be the right tackle moving forward. Maybe he just had a good game. Maybe that's not the guy you want in there. But this offensive line looked more like the offensive line that we thought we were getting when this season started. The offensive line that had 3 Pro Bowlers, the offensive line that is the highest paid in the league. They looked the part tonight. The Chiefs never sniffed Derek Carr tonight, except for that one play where Carr put the football out there and it was wrestled away from him. And that's a bad call there. We'll get to that when we get to the Chiefs side of things. But nonetheless, this Raiders offense was outstanding. And that final drive of the game is a season-defining drive if the Raiders are able to turn things around. And I'm not one to sit here and start talking about the Raiders do this and do that and they can win this game and win that. You got to get back to 500 first before we start talking crazy. You're still under 500 at 3-4. You still got a tough stretch of games. This was 3 straight at home, so you know you're going to be on the road moving forward for a little bit. Probably your next 2 out of 3 are going to be on the road in some shape or form or some kind of capacity. You got some tough ones coming up. They read off the list of games. Eagles coming up. Patriots coming up down the road. The Dolphins, I think that's a primetime game in a couple of weeks. So that's another one. And the Dolphins aren't a good football team, but you go to their place and you don't play good football, they can get you. So this was your second game in the third game in the division. You played every team in the division once. You're 1-2 now in the division. So you got a long uphill climb, but this could be the start. And that drive could be the start of the Raiders turning things around in 2017, or it could just be a nice, memorable win, but this season may not amount to anything. We'll see what this drive means, but let's talk about this drive because this was huge. This was Derek Carr showing you the Derek Carr of last year that was an MVP candidate leading up to that injury that he sustained that saw him miss the postseason and really end the Raiders' hopes of doing anything last year. He looked poised, he looked confident, he looked like a guy that was prepared to take his team down the field to win this football game. And for the first time this season, his guys stepped up. You had some players, they overcame a 2nd and 20 because Holton was in the game and he's a clown and he looked like he ran a couple of bad routes, including a OPI that could have cost them on that forced a 2nd and 20 that they still were able to convert because Amari Cooper picked up about 25 over the middle of the football field. Great throw by Carr, great catch by Cooper, because we know Cooper has no problems dropping the football, but he was in the zone tonight, and they needed a big play. He made it on a 2nd and 20. That got them there. Then you had a 4th down. Looked like the game could be over. Great throw by Carr, better catch by Jared Cook Jr. to extend the drive, and then you had the theatrics. He threw that one up for grabs. Again, I think somebody ran a wrong route because there should never be 2 receivers in the same general vicinity, and that attracted a safety over there. So there were 3 Chiefs, 2 Raiders when he caught that football, he being Jared Cook Jr., and fell down at the 1 yard line. We initially thought it was a touchdown. And they went back to the exact same play because you remember the play before, that would have been a catch. It looked like Seth Roberts had his hands on the football, but Johnny Lee Holton, again, he's a clown, took the ball from Seth Roberts, and no one caught the football, and it ended up being incomplete. And so they get Holton out. They put Jared Cook Jr. on that side where Holton was the previous play, running the same exact play, and this time Jared Cook Jr. able to come down with the football. And that was just Derek Carr throwing it up for grabs and saying, hey, somebody make a play. That could have easily been deflected. That could have been easily picked off but instead it found the waiting arms of Jared Cook Jr. down to the 1 yard line. And then you have a crazy sequence of events because they had to review it and they brought it back to the half yard line. You've got a 10-second runoff, which takes the clock down to 8, and the clock is going to start on the referee's whistle. That started the clock. They throw the back shoulder fade to Krabs. He pushes off, the right call, OPI. That looks like that's going to end the game for the Raiders because that 10-yard penalty is going to push them all the way back to around the 11-yard line or so, which is a death sentence with one play essentially left in the chamber. And they get a penalty in the back of the end zone, holding. And it was a catch initially by Cordero Patterson, but it was raked at. He juggled the football at the end, didn't get 2 feet in, and so it was incomplete. But they get the holding penalty, so they get another untimed down. This time, Carr is able to step up in the pocket, throw a loft job to Jared Cook Jr., who's wide open. A little high, but he should have caught it. But more yellow laundry on the field this time. Another holding penalty, this time on Eric Murray, who was the target of a number of throws from Carr to Cook on this evening, which gave them yet another untimed down, this time from right around the 2-yard line. The Raiders elect to sprint out this time, Carr to his left. Another push off by a Krabs, but this one was more in line with allowing him to get away with that. I had no problems with no laundry being on the field with this one. It was more in sync with the way the play went, and he was able to get his knee down, inbounds, corral the football. Beautiful throw by Carr, even better catch and secure by Krabs. And you had to know that's where they were going with the football. They went to him on the OPI. They went to him again there. They were talking about double teaming Coop for what? That's not the guy they go to. If you remember New Orleans last season, when you went for 2, who'd you throw it to? You threw it to Krabs. In these types of situations, you can go back last year and look at every big situation that the Raiders needed a bailout in. You'll see who they go to in those situations. If I'm a team, you're not throwing it to Crabtree. You got to throw it to Cooper. You got to throw it to one of these other guys that doesn't have the leaping ability, doesn't have the hands, nor the confidence to make those plays. Krabs has all of those things. He showed you again why the Raiders go to him time and time again in these crucial situations. He got it done again. And your kicker, Tavecchio, who had been struggling on the night, missed 2 field goals, had one blocked, and the other one he pushed far left. Made it interesting. That extra point had me sweating. I said, are we going to overtime? It was barely good, and the Raiders get the win 31-30. You go to the defensive side of the football, this is still a bad Raiders defense. No way. No two ways about it. This is the reason why I still don't believe the Raiders are going to turn their season around is because you're going to have to win shootouts like this. How often are you going to be able to outlast the other team? I don't know, because I can tell you this much. When you needed a stop, 2 stops late in this ball game, the defense rose to the occasion. I must give them credit for that. But up until that point, and I really think the Chiefs went conservative. If they would have just continued to keep their foot on the gas pedal, I think they would have been able to convert. We'll get to why they didn't convert a third down, the second to last third down that they had when they ended up having a punt. We'll get to that when we get to the Chiefs. But you can't have, look, you're not good enough to have the type of mistakes the Raiders had in this game defensively. You can't have Danico Autry going low on Alex Smith on a third down where they're going to have to punt. And instead, they get a free 15 yards, which ends up allowing them to get down the field and end up getting in the end zone. Those are the types of plays that cripple you. That could have been a game changer. They were going to have to punt the football, and you can't make those types of mistakes if you're Danico Autry. Also, you can't have the Keith McGill ball go through your hands and into the waiting arms of Albert Wilson for a touchdown. You can't have that happen. If you're the Raiders, you are not good enough defensively to have these kinds of mistakes lead directly to points. That's 14 points put on the scoreboard because your defense either made a critical mistake or didn't make a play. And those are the types of things that stop teams from winning games, especially when you're a team that struggles like the Raiders do on defense. Aside from Khalil Mack, there was a little bit of pressure with Bruce Irvin on the night, but for the most part, this was a Raiders defense that struggled to get pressure on the quarterback consistently. They did get a sack late, but that was a screen. Okay, on that last third down, that was a screen that the Raiders did a beautiful job of sniffing out. Alex Smith had no, and again, I don't like the call there. Okay, you've been killing these guys on third downs all game long by pushing the football down the field, by running Tyreek Hill wherever the hell you want to run him, by running Travis Kelce wherever the hell you want to run him. Even Demarcus Robinson was eating on third downs. Why would you call a screen? Again, a conservative approach, I think, really hurt the Chiefs down the stretch. But give credit to the Raiders for sniffing out screen and making the plays necessary down the stretch. Despite Emerson getting his ass toasted a couple of times and ended up getting hurt, whether he was hurt or if he just got benched, they reported that he was hurt. I believe he just got benched when it's all said and done because he was getting his ass toasted over there by Tyreek Hill. But nonetheless, whether he was injured or not, this Raiders defense, for as bad as they were this game, Alex Smith was tearing them a new asshole. And it was crazy because I thought they actually did a quality job against the run for the most part of the night. And I looked up, and damn, Kareem Hunt's got 87 yards on just 17 carries. And I'm like, how the hell did he get? I don't. But he did have the 35-yard run. So, you know, I guess if you take that out of the equation, it was a really good night against the run, I thought. But I forgot about that 35-yard run early in the game that led to a Chiefs score. So those are the types of plays that you just can't give up if you're this Raiders defense. But nonetheless, for as bad as they were on the night, when they had to have stops, they got 2. That's huge. That's critical. And that's what got you an opportunity to win the football game. And if you're the Raiders, that's all you can ask for is in the fourth quarter, late in the game, ball in the hands of the 4 card with a chance to win. You can't ask for it much better than that if you're the Raiders. There have been too many games this season where that hasn't been the case. The Redskins game, the Ravens game, he wasn't even available. The Broncos game, he wasn't available late. There's too many opportunities this season that were missed for Derek Carr to have the football in his hands late in the ball game with a chance to win. And so you got that opportunity in this game, and he was able to take full advantage of it, and that was a huge, huge win, huge drive. And the defense, got to give them credit for as bad as they were tonight. Those final 2 stops were monumental in this Raiders come-from-behind victory over the Chiefs. You look at the special teams unit. I thought that those were 2 remarkable punts by Marquette King late in the game to flip field position and give them an opportunity to get the football back with reasonable field position. Raiders did have a penalty after the Chiefs had to punt on their final punt on that final drive. And so they ended up starting their drive around the, I'd say, the 9 or so. So it was a very lengthy drive. But I thought special teams outside of the missed field goals was good coverage of Tyreek Hill in this game. But you can't have the missed field goals. Again, you were lucky to win this football game. When it's all said and done, for the mistakes you made defensively, for as many drop passes as there were in this game, the 2 missed field goals, 1 block, 1 just missed, you were fortunate to have a chance to win this game late. But that's the heart of a champion. That's the heart of a team that's been here, done that before, and found a way to just give yourself a chance in the fourth quarter. And I say this until my face turns blue. I just want a chance in the fourth quarter to win the football game. Raiders gave their quarterback a chance late in this game to win the football game, and that's exactly what Derek Carr was able to do. Big win for the Raiders. This may have saved their season. We'll see. Okay, this could just be a great win in an otherwise disappointing season, or this could be the start of the turnaround for the Raiders in 2017. We're going to see. I'm watching this Raiders team very closely because this was impressive at home, despite all of the mistakes, to come out on top over a Chiefs team that had dominated, reigned supreme over the AFC West. 12 straight victories within the division. Raiders snapped that streak with a 31-30 victory. You get to the Chiefs side of things. It's a really disappointing loss because you pretty much did everything you needed to do offensively and special teams wise to put yourself in a position to win, and the defense just simply was not good enough. But we'll go all the way back to the beginning of the game and talk about all of the different things that led up to this 31-30 loss and this heartbreaking loss for this Chiefs football team. And we'll go back to the beginning, and we'll start on the offensive side of the football with Alex Smith, who was just outstanding. And if you ask me what the difference is between this version of the Chiefs and the past years of the Chiefs under Alex Smith and Andy Reid, I tell you, just look at his numbers. Just look at the way that he pushed the football down the field. Just look at the amount of points they scored in this game. There was once upon a time when the Chiefs were good for 20 to 23 points. On a good day, they might get 27. That was on their best behavior. And they had to have a defensive score or a special team score, or a defensive touchdown that put them, or a defensive turnover that put them in point blank range to score, or a special teams play that put them in point blank scoring range to put points up on the scoreboard. They couldn't do it by themselves offensively. They weren't good enough. They weren't explosive enough. They weren't dynamic enough. You fast forward to this year, Alex Smith isn't missing down the field. Those throws early in the game, Tyreek Hill down the sidelines right before the half, that right there, they started a drive at their own 1 yard line. 3 plays. A beautiful throw to Demarcus Robinson for about a gain of 35 that gets them from the shadow of their own goalpost all the way out to around the 40-yard line. Then they get another play, and then the play after that, boom, Tyreek Hill, 40-some-odd yards down the sidelines, good night, touchdown. Perfectly thrown football in stride so that David Amerson didn't have a chance to get back into the play, allowing Tyreek Hill to use that speed to outrun the defense, outrun Reggie Nelson, the safety coming from the other side of the football field. He was late, had no chance because that throw was pinpoint accurate. Couldn't have breastfed him any better. That's the difference for this team offensively this year. You make a mistake, Alex Smith is making you pay for that mistake 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, even 50 yards down the field. That hasn't been a part of this team's repertoire in the past years. And that's why this team wasn't able to score 30, 33, 45 like they've done. They've scored over 40 twice this season. They've scored in just about every game this year except for last week against Pittsburgh. They've scored at least 30 in every single ball game. And this is a team right now that offensively, they have it on tilt. Okay, they get Albert Wilson back. He makes a huge play, albeit off of a tip pass that should have been picked off by Keith McGill. Doesn't matter. No one was giving back the Steelers' Antonio Brown touchdown at the end of the game that ended up being the game winner. So you'll take those when they come. But Alex Smith and his aggressive approach has allowed this team to get off to this fast start at 5-2. Now, that being said, I thought that they went less aggressive late in the game. They played not to lose instead of to win, and I thought it came back to haunt them. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, but Alex Smith was outstanding early. Alex Smith was outstanding the entire game. Demarcus Robinson, I thought, was outstanding. I think this was his coming out party. You're going to see a lot more from him, and I told you I liked him, and I liked a lot of the things that he was doing, and you're going to see a lot more out of necessity from him because there's no more Chris Conley. He's going to have to play more, and if you're a Chiefs fan, you have to be encouraged by what you saw throughout the night from Demarcus Robinson. Travis Kelce, he was outstanding early. He had the great touchdown. That was a high throw by Smith. He went up and got that, got his knee down and was able to control that catch throughout the process. It's an outstanding grab by Kelce. Kelce hurt you, though. You win this football game if Travis Kelce on a 2nd and 9, he catches a pass 6 yards. He catches a pass 5 yards. There's no Raider defender within 5 yards of him when he catches the football. Instead of him turning up the field and being a physical 6'6", 260-pound freak like he is and getting that first down, he decides he wants to turn into a shifty tight end that has no balls, and he gets tackled for a 4. He goes backwards a yard and gets tackled for a 4-yard gain. What the hell are you doing? If you thought that was a good idea, you need to wash your face and get your mind right. It's winning time. That's when you turn around, you go up the field, you put your shoulder down, and you get that first down. The game is over. Raiders are going to have to start using their timeouts. You're going to eat up another minute of the clock minimum. The Raiders are going to have no timeouts. And even if you punt on the next set of downs, it's a totally different game. Raiders have no timeouts. Raiders have less time, and they're going to have bad field position because you're going to pick up a set of downs. That was, to me, that was the game. That was the opportunity to put the nail in the coffin, and Travis Kelce played scared in that situation. He tried to do too much. Sometimes less is more. Just turn up the field, put your shoulder down. Even if you don't get the first down, it would have been 3rd and 1. They weren't stopping Kareem Hunt from getting a yard. Speaking of which, he had a 9-yard run in the 4th quarter, which personifies why this man right now is one of the best running backs in the league, and that's crazy to say for a rookie. But there was a 9-yard run where Navarro Bowman eludes the block of the fullback, Sherman, grabs his ankle. He says, "Hey, get off me, man. Stop playing." Then another Raider defender comes up, lowers the shoulder on him, runs through that arm tackle. And then another Raider defender comes, corrals him, and another Raider comes from behind and knocks him forward for a 10-yard gain. That's right there why this guy, Kareem Hunt, is one of the best, because yards after the contact, this man is among the best there is in the league in just 7 games in his young NFL career. It's that ability to get yards after the contact that separates him from a lot of the backs in this league, that if you hit them, they go down. You make contact with their legs, they go down. This is a guy that gets each and every single yard. And as we saw in college and have seen after his first touch in the NFL, he doesn't fumble. Despite fighting for every single yard that's out there, he didn't put the ball on the carpet. And he can catch it out of the backfield. He's the quintessential all-purpose running back in this league. And then to top it off and put the cherry on top, on the touchdown to Tyreek Hill, he cut Navarro Bowman. He gave Alex Smith the time he needed to deliver that football 45 yards down the field in stride to Tyreek Hill for a touchdown. He can do it all, and that's why this team is 5-2, because they've got guys at each and every level: a running back, a tight end, a receiver, and now Alex Smith playing at an MVP-like level. It's now 15 touchdowns versus no INTs for Alex Smith on the season. This guy is playing out of his mind right now, out of his gourd right now is Alex Smith, and it's fun to watch. I love the evolution, and normally this late in a guy's career, you're not seeing a player change the way they approach the game. You're not seeing guys get extra accurate down the field after they've been a dink and dunk quarterback for the vast majority of their career. It is unlikely that these types of things happen, yet Alex Smith looks like a totally different quarterback. He looks like the guy that was drafted #1 overall some 10, 11 years ago in the NFL draft. It is remarkable what this guy is doing at this late stage of his career at like 34 years old. It is amazing what he's doing. And then finally, Tyreek Hill, my goodness. I never thought that he would be the receiver that he's turned out to be. I said he's going to be a gadget guy, somewhat like Tavon Austin with the Rams, a guy that you just got to create ways to get the football in his hands. He's going to be dynamic. You can get it to him out of the backfield. You can throw him some swing passes out of the backfield. He can run the occasional slant, a stop, but he's not going to be a real wide receiver. He's not going to be running speed outs. He's not going to be running 10-yard deep comebacks. He's not going to be running post routes. He's not going to be running dig routes, 12 yards, 14 yards up the field. He's doing all of that and more. He's toe dragging. He's running crisp, precise routes. He is the best, one of the best receivers in the league. Like, think about that for a second. The amount of speed he has automatically gives him 10 to 15 yards of cushion. On the play that he beat David Amerson for the touchdown, David Amerson was 12 to 15 yards off the ball. He ate up his cushion. You know the rules to the game, then play. Even leaving. He caught him up, he caught up with him, and he smoked him. And that was with 12 to 15 yards of cushion, folks. Like, that kind of speed gives you the ability to run any underneath route. You can run whatever you like. Yeah. You can run any underneath. A stop at 5, that's easy money. Okay? A comeback, a curl at 8, easy money, because they're threatened by the speed. They're opening up their hips and they're bailing before this guy even threatens their toes. And because of that, it's easy money. But then when he has to get precise, like on a third down where Alex Smith rolls out to his left and finds him with a defensive back draped all over him, he's still able to catch the football, jump in the air, protect the football, get the first down. Or when he's in the honey hole down the field, over the corner, right with the safety bearing now, takes the shot, still holds on to the football. This guy is a real receiver, but yet he still has the ability to hurt you on a jet sweep, hurt you out of the backfield, hurt you on punt returns, hurt you in any number of ways. This guy is the ultimate weapon in this league, the likes of which we haven't seen. We've never seen a guy be able to hurt you in so many ways and still be as good as he is as a receiver. Antonio Brown is probably the closest you're going to get to him, because Antonio Brown can hurt you on punts and hurt you as a receiver, but Antonio Brown isn't getting a jet sweep and going for 67 yards and a touchdown. That's what Tyreek Hill can offer you. All right, Tavon Austin can hurt you on punts and a jet sweep, or anything out of the backfield, a handoff, a toss, anything out of the backfield like Tyreek Hill can, but he can't hurt you as a receiver like Hill can. No one brings that complete package to the field like Tyreek Hill does. And tonight was another example of how this guy is continuing to evolve as a wide receiver. He's blowing my mind every time I see him. I never thought, at least not this early, that this guy would be as good as he was. Because when I watched the tape of him in college, I saw a guy that had unique dynamic ability and explosiveness that was going to change the game for the Chiefs, but I didn't see a guy that was going to be able to do that from the receiver position. I saw a guy that would catch a slip screen, a tunnel screen, a bubble screen, and make some guys miss and turn into a punt returner and make big plays. I saw a guy that was going to get the football on a double reverse, on a jet sweep, on a toss out of the backfield, like last year. Okay, all of those things he was doing last year, I thought that was going to be who he's evolved as a receiver. His role as a receiver has gotten bigger this year, and he's still able to do all of the things that he was able to do last year and still hurt you in the punt return game like he did against the Texans for a touchdown. Tyreek Hill is just flat out amazing, and that's part of the reason why this Chiefs team is so hard to stop. But that being said, let's get to the end of the game offensively so we can get to this defense that was a huge letdown in this game. I thought the Travis Kelce play was a huge mistake on the part of Kelce. It was the perfect play call, wide open, underneath, 5-yard gain, turn it up the field, get the other 4 yards, get the first down. If at worst, get 8, it's 31, you're going to pick that up with Kareem Hunt. There's no doubt in my mind. Even if you want to go quarterback sneak with Alex Smith, you're going to convert. Raiders are in trouble at that point. They're in trouble. Instead, he decides to get cute. He wants to get fancy. Oh, you fancy, huh? Oh, you fancy, huh? Oh, you don't want the first down? Okay, cool. Don't worry about it. You're going to lose the game now. So I thought that was a mistake. But then the defense goes out and gets a rare stop. A rare stop. They get the football back, and the Chiefs go conservative on me. Now, I didn't mind them forcing the hand of the Raiders and running the football, right? But on that 3rd down and 4, why are you running the screen? You've been killing the Raiders on 3rd down. Killing the Raiders by just running your offense. Just running your offense. Running Kelce on a stop. Running Kelce on a hook. Running Tyreek Hill on an out. Running Demarcus Robinson on an out. You've been killing them all game. Why would you go away from what works? Sometimes, and you're trying to be safe here. I don't want to throw an incomplete pass and stop the clock. You're trying to win the game. You're not trying to worry about stopping the clock. You're trying to go for the jugular vein here. You're not looking to, oh, if it's not there, Alex, take the sack. Damn that. Worst case scenario, you drop back. The Raiders haven't been getting pressure all night. You have Alex Smith tuck it and run. All right? See what happens. They're going to respect his ability to run. As soon as they come up, he'll dump it to somebody, first down, game over. Again, I don't know why they decided to go conservative and run a screen at that juncture of the game. The Raiders had the perfect play call. They did not blitz. As a matter of fact, they dropped Bruce Irvin out, who was there with that screen, and it had no chance. It was dead on arrival. It was DOA when they called the play. And I hated that. I hated that lack of aggression. And Andy Reid has been aggressive this season, but he picked the wrong time to be passive. And it hurt his team down the stretch. But nothing hurt this team more in this game than the defense. So let's get to it, because I've already said, and I said this 3 weeks ago, the undoing of this team this year, if you don't maximize the amount of talent and wins that you're supposed to have this year, if you don't get the most out of this season, it'll be because of the defense, which is crazy to say with the Chiefs, because for so long, the Chiefs' defense has been the backbone of this team. But right now, this defense is putrid, okay? You can run it on this defense. You can definitely throw it on this defense, and they don't get after the quarterback like they used to. Justin Houston, those 5.5 sacks he has this year, those are invisible sacks to me, okay? Those aren't real sacks. Because when you need them most, the Justin Houston I know used to make a play. He was a guy that was coming and stripping your quarterback late in the ball game to close the show. He was a guy that was sacking your quarterback on 3rd and 7. When you needed a play, he was a guy that was sacking your quarterback and putting you in a really tough spot, 4th and 15. He was that guy. He was the closer. When Justin Houston and Tom Bahali was out, then the closer became D Ford. You remember 2 years ago when he had his breakout season, had 10 sacks? That game against Cleveland when he went off, chasing Johnny Manziel all over the place, had a knockaway in the end zone. He was the closer. Where was D Ford in this game? He might have been the lone guy getting pressure, and his pressure was always late. It was after a guy tried to cut him, he's on the ground, and Carr's still holding on to the football for 10 seconds, and here comes D Ford now. Where was the pressure? At some point, Bob Sutton needed to say, you know what? Eric Murray's getting his ass whooped. And I don't know if Terrence Mitchell can hold his own on that boundary out there by himself. We may need to blitz. We may need to bring some extra heat. He never blitzed in this game. And Derek Carr picked apart that man-to-man or that zone coverage that they were seeing all game long. Picked it apart. Ate it alive because there was no pressure, no resistance from this Chiefs defense. They needed one stop. They were horrible all game long. They gave up 200 yards to a receiver who had been invisible all season long, who was struggling with confidence. Struggling with confidence. He had zero confidence coming into this game. They let him go off for 2 bills in this game. Derek Carr, who had been struggling, they let him go off for 400 yards passing. And with all of that, one stop. That's all you needed. The Raiders, they were horrible defensively in this game. They needed one stop. They went out and got 2. They needed 1. They went out and got 2. You needed one stop. You as bad as you were defensively in this game. For as much as you gave up, you needed one stop. You couldn't get it. And that is a travesty. Now, let's talk about some things that hurt you in this game. The Eric Murray holding penalty or illegal contact, whatever they called, on that third down that led to the Raiders, I want to say, their first touchdown of the game or their second touchdown of the game. That's bogus. That's a terrible call. And I thought the football gods, it kind of evened out the balance of the scales at the end of the day. It was some egregious calls on both sides of the field. He wasn't even 5 yards down the field, okay? He had his hands on him, but it was right off the line of scrimmage. It was like 2 yards up the field. There's no way you call that. And that was a fumble. Okay, not only are you taking the football away, you're giving your offense prime field position. That would have been another touchdown. They were going to score. That Raiders defense had little to no resistance on the night. They took the football away from Derek Carr on one of the few times they impacted the game with pass rush, and you're going to call that? It's a bad call. No doubt, that's a terrible call. The no call on Amari Cooper, that's a bad no call. It hurts you. That's 7 points. That hurts. It's a bad no call. But they gave it back to you late in the game. The OPI, that's a good call. They gave you the ammunition to end this game. You couldn't do it. Eric Murray got his ass roasted in this game. Mitchell struggled. You let Cooper run through some easy zones throughout the game. The touchdown where he was able to catch it and then turn on the afterburners. That's in zone. Nobody around. Turns on the afterburners and runs for a touchdown. The 25-yard gain on 2nd and 20 on the final drive. That's a sloppy zone. Easy money over the middle of the field. Again, if you're not getting pressure with 4 and you're gonna play that soft ass zone coverage, you might as well blitz and play zone behind it then, if that's how you feeling. But don't sit back and let Derek Carr, who you know is fully capable, don't let him stand back there all day and shred you. You let him stand back there all day and shred you. And so you deserve to lose this football game. There's really not much more for me to say. You gave them 2 untimed downs. They tried to give you this game, and you gave them 2 untimed downs with penalties late in the ball game, and you got away with one. The Jared Cook holding in the end zone, he should have caught the damn football. It was a perfectly thrown football. But the cornerback, and I want to say it was Murray, he was tackling the dude 3 seconds before the ball even got there. I mean, are you kidding me? The only reason they didn't throw the flag is because the ball hit Jared Cook in both hands. He should have caught it. So they're like, we're not bailing you out. You should have caught the damn ball. But it was pass interference. Ball should have been at the 1 yard line. Like I said, the football gods balanced it out. You made too many mistakes in this game. The hit on Derek Carr by Marcus Peters, stupid. Derek Carr's not going anywhere. Why do you feel the need to put a shoulder on the man? He's not going. It's 3rd down. They got a punt. What are you doing? It's not smart football, man. This Chiefs team has been all about smart football. There wasn't a lot of smart football tonight. Not a lot of smart football. That's why you lost this game. Not a lot of smart football. And for a team that doesn't beat themselves, you beat yourself tonight. You beat yourself tonight. You beat yourself last week. And that's what you haven't been doing when you started 5-0. All of a sudden now, the last 2 weeks, you've beaten yourself. And like I said, your defense, not good enough for you to beat yourself. You're not good enough. You're good enough on special teams. Harrison Butker was outstanding again tonight. You got yourself a gem. You unearthed a gem with the injury to Cairo Santos. He's no longer on your roster because you unearthed a gem in Harrison Butker. He's been money. Kicked a 53 or 54 yarder in this game, down the pipe. Everything he kicked tonight, down the pipe. Easy money. Unearthed the gem. Your special teams, outstanding. Your offense, outstanding. Defense, question mark. And if you don't win big this year, that's going to be your biggest undoing, is the defense. Raiders get it done in an exhilarating game. What a fabulous contest. Wow, the NFL has ratcheted it up. We've been getting good football after good football after good football these last few weeks. And this was the best we've seen all season long. This was outstanding. Raiders get the win 31-30 in the most wacky finish you will ever see in an NFL game. 3 different scenarios that seemed like the last play. 2 untimed downs, including the game winner to Krabs in the corner of the end zone for a touchdown. The extra point to win the game even had high drama as it barely snuck over the right upright. Man, what a crazy finish. Raiders go to 3-4 with the win. Chiefs, after starting 5-0 on the season, dropped their second straight and now are 5-2. Raiders, more importantly, snap that nasty 4-game losing skid that they were on and now give themselves a chance to try to crawl back into the thick of things in the AFC West division. Let's get to your comments. And if you're out here and you want your comment to be read, use the hashtag LouieTLive to have your comment read on the air. Andrew Kim says, this game did not want to end with all those flags. I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen a game with this many untimed downs. I've never seen a game come down to this many flags deciding the outcome of the game. I mean, on the Chiefs side of things, you get the OPI, which it seems like it's a death sentence for the Raiders. Then you get a holding penalty. Then you get another holding penalty, which nets you 2 untimed downs. And then the following led to the touchdown. It's just amazing how this game ended. AK also says this game was perfect timing for Cooper to break out. Crabtree was clutch. Raiders saved their season with Carr, but both defenses were not good. Absolutely. Kevin said, I picked the Chiefs. Most of us did. Good football trumps whoever you pick. Like, I was rooting for the Chiefs late in this game just because I picked them, but at the end of the day, I just wanted to see a good game, and this is exactly what I got. So a good football always trumps whoever I pick on my sheet. Obviously, you're probably going to have a rooting interest because you picked a specific team to win and you want that team to get it done for you. But at the end of the day, I just wanted to see some good football, and I got my money's worth and then some tonight. BE says, I'm effing pissed. I took Amari out of my fantasy lineup at the last second, and I'm 0-1, but damn, what a game. I don't blame you for taking Amari Cooper out of your lineup. He had been awful of late, but boy, did he come up with a game tonight. Dre True Statement says, what a hell of a game. Game of the year so far, that is facts. Hashtag facts. This is game of the year right now. It's going to be hard to top this, but we got a lot of football left to be played in this 2017 season, so we'll see. But right now, this is at the top. When you're talking game of the year, there is no way that this one isn't the best we've seen all season long. AK says, Chiefs secondary is so trash. Their big Achilles heel, missing Barry. Absolutely. I never thought that Eric Berry's presence would be missed and felt this badly. I knew his presence was big. I mean, watching him in that opening game versus the Patriots and him basically canceling out Gronk, I saw how big of a playmaker he was. But and we already knew that, but I thought they would somehow be. They've played without Eric Berry before, so I said they'll circumvent this. They'll be fine. They'll be fine. No, they're not fine. They're bad in that secondary. Buffalo pregame says, I called this game on your discussion page. Not sure if this is good or bad for the Bills, though. Hopefully, if you got it right. I thought about going with the Raiders, man. I really did. I struggled. This was the last game I picked on my sheet. I struggled back and forth, and I finally went with the Chiefs. And they almost won the game. They should have won the game, but they didn't know how to close the show. Jaleel says, I should have picked my Raiders on this one. I'll take the L. I don't give a F. Let's go. I know you got to be excited, man. When you don't pick your team and they win, that loss is inconsequential. You don't give a damn about that loss. You're so excited that your team won because obviously you not picking your team means you expected your team to lose. Because when you're a true fan, it pains you not to pick your team. But if you're smart and you know your team's struggling, why would you pick them? No reason to take an L unnecessarily. So obviously you not picking the Raiders, man, you fully expected them to lose this game. And one of my best friends is a Raiders fan, and he fully expected the Raiders to lose this game. He was the deciding factor in whether I picked the Raiders or not. I called him up and I was like, yo, Raiders going to win this week or not? And in my mind, I'm thinking, they got a shot. I was ready to pick them. And he said no, emphatically, and said, okay, cool. That's all I needed. And I picked the Raiders, or the Chiefs. And he didn't think they were going to win either. So Cloud says, pick the Chiefs, but kind of happy the Raiders didn't go 2-5. Want to see them compete in the AFC. It was a hell of a game, and they had to have it. 2-5 would have been a death sentence. That would have been 5 straight losses. There's no coming back from 5 straight losses if you're the Raiders. So this was a must-win game, and they got it done. Marcus Mariota says, bruh, the ending was crazy as hell. As a Titans fan, I can't help but have a big-ass smile on our face for a good game. It was a hell of a finish. And the Raiders, they needed every single call down the stretch to go their way. And for the most part, they got it. RJ West says, I like what I saw with Todd Downing this week. He might have won me over tonight. He needed this badly. I mean, everyone was starting to point the finger at Todd Downing. And for those of you who don't know who that is, that's the Raiders' new offensive coordinator. Everyone was starting to point the fingers at him. It was starting to become a scapegoat situation like, okay, what's different from last year? Well, the offense is struggling because the defense is just a little bit better. So what's different? Oh, the offense is bad now. Okay, well, what's bad about the offense? They're not throwing the football as effectively. They're not scoring as many points. And all the fingers were starting to be pointed at Todd Downing. He needed a game like this. This may have saved his job, to be honest. I'm not saying that they were going to fire him anytime soon, but there would have been a witch hunt that would have started. Had they come out, got drubbed 30-13 tonight, Alex Smith looked the way he looked, and Derek Carr would have looked like he's looked the last, 3 outings. Not counting the Ravens game, obviously he didn't play, but the Broncos, the Redskins, and last week versus the Chargers, had he come out looking like that, there would have been pitchforks and torches out. And the crescendo would have started to build for Todd Downing to be ousted as offensive coordinator, sort of like what we've heard with Ken Norton Jr. over these years, even though he's still there. There may have been a little bit more impetus because this offense has been the catalyst. Unlike the defense that has been bad, which is why Ken Norton still has a job, the offense has been good. And if Todd Downing couldn't get it fixed, there may have been an issue. So that was a big-time win. Cloud says, Amari came back in this game and proved why he's still a really good receiver. Those hands are still suspect, but he made some plays tonight. Black LB says, what it do, Lou? F is going on with the vaunted Chiefs defense from a couple of years ago. Is this the Eric Berry effect? It's partly to blame, but I put this more on the front four not getting pressure than I do the Eric Berry effect. Like I said, they've played without Eric Berry before. All right? They've played without EB before. I think this is more of lack of pressure. Lack of pressure up front. They're not winning one-on-one matchups up front. Chris Jones not winning up front. D Ford not winning up front. And your biggest pass rusher, Justin Houston, non-existent. Like I said, he's got 5.5 sacks on the season. Those are empty sacks for me. Those are empty sacks because when your team needs them the most, I haven't seen this guy step up and get it done. So I blame the front four more than I blame Eric Berry's injury right now for the struggles of this Chiefs defense. Cloud says, yeah, beast mode isn't a beast anymore. I don't think the Raiders are using him the way that he needs to be used. But that being said, I just think it's all hype with him right now. Archangel says, KC really misses Eric Berry, and it shows, doesn't it, Lou? It does, but I think they could get past that if they could get more pressure on the quarterback. I've always told you this. Nothing has changed. In this league, it's about being able to throw the football and being able to affect the passing game on the other side by getting to the other team's quarterback. You've got to have a good quarterback that can perform, and you've got to be able to affect the way the other quarterback performs by getting pressure on him. That hasn't changed, and it won't change. This is becoming more and more of a passing league. And late in ball games, you got to be able to get to the other team's quarterback. Hell, if they would have been able to get to Derek Carr throughout this ball game, they would have won this game. But they couldn't. Keep in mind, on that final drive, they had a 2nd and 20. They had a 4th and 10. At any point, if they just get a little pressure, a hand up, a deflection, anything, renegade, anything, renegade, just anything. They win the game. They could get nothing. Give credit to that Raiders offensive line, though. Those big boys are getting paid handsomely for a reason. But damn it, man, when the game's on the line, you need your big-time playmakers to make plays, and they didn't make plays in this game. And they haven't been for the vast majority of the season. Cloud says, yeah, these kickers be scaring fans this season, man. You hate when it comes down to a kicker, but that's why you need a good kicker. Thoughts on Voro's debut? It was okay. Look, when you got Voro, the thing was he's still good at stopping the run. He had a great blitz late in the game to get to Alex Smith on a crucial 3rd down that forced an incompletion that got you the ball back. That was huge. But he gave up the touchdown to Travis Kelce on the 2nd possession. Was that the first touchdown or the 2nd touchdown? I think that was the first touchdown because they got a field goal on their first possession. So that was the first touchdown of the game. He got beat. He's not good in pass coverage anymore. He used to be a beast against the run and pass. That's what set him apart from most inside linebackers in this league is his ability to play both run and pass. He can't do that anymore. After the injury, his ability to change directions and that explosive burst that he once had to be able to change directions and then undercut a route or be step for step with a tight end, he didn't have that anymore. You saw that on the Kelce touchdown. He's going to struggle in pass defense. But he's going to be a big upgrade in the run defense because he's still an outstanding run defender. So I thought it was a mixed debut, but for him to come in, get the green dot, and only have been with the team since what? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that. I thought he came out and showed well for this Raiders, and he's going to help. He can't hurt. Corey Fitterman says, what's good, fam? You think the Chiefs defensive line is missing Poe? And I'm ready for Monday night. We owe them Eagles. No, they're not missing Poe because Poe didn't get pressure on the quarterback. They're not struggling to stop the run as much. You can run on these boys. We saw what Le'Veon Bell. I think they missed Poe from that perspective. Saw what Le'Veon, but then again, the Chiefs. Poe was there last year. Le'Veon Bell did the same thing last year. L.A.B. Bell and the Steelers, they are the Chiefs' kryptonite. They just know how to beat Kansas City. Point blank, period, end of discussion. Poe wouldn't have helped them get pressure on the quarterback. They used to take him off the field on 3rd downs. So, no, they're not missing Poe in terms of getting to the quarterback. They need their edge rushers to win, and they're not winning. Dark Sealer 1995 says the refs lost the game for the Chiefs. The no call on the Cooper for the pass interference and the illegal contact on the Chiefs, even though it wasn't illegal contact, cost them a turnover. Those were horrible calls, but they could have overcome that. There were some opportunities. The football gods balance the scales when it's all said and done. Keith McGill should have picked that pass off, but why didn't he? Because the football gods said, hey, we owe the Chiefs. The referee screwed them, so we're going to give them a touchdown here. We're going to make it rain, man. We're going to give them a touchdown. The game balanced itself out. That OPI late against Krabs in the end zone, look, they straightened it out. The football gods balanced the scales, and the Chiefs refused to take advantage of opportunities given to them in this game. As bad as the officials were in some key spots, the Chiefs should have been able to overcome that and win this game, and they didn't. So I won't allow the referees to be the scapegoats for this loss. The Chiefs lost this game on their own merit. Dark Sealer 1995 says, Crabtree pushed off on the last play of the game for the touchdown, and they don't call it, but they called the first one. I didn't have a problem with that because that was a subtle push, and receivers do it all the time. The first one, on the one that they call OPI, that was egregious. That was arm extension. That was out in space by your lonesome. You can't do that. Defender went down. On that last one, we see guys do it. Jason Witten makes a living off of that. Little shoulder, little elbow, little push, little shimmy, then stem it to the outside. That's easy money for receivers. You can get away with that in this league. You don't call that. I didn't have a problem with them not calling that. That was a good no call. I thought the officiating late All the calls, all the flags that they threw were rightfully thrown and justified. They missed the call, though. Chiefs fans crying about the referees. How about Terrence Mitchell or Eric Murray tackling Jared Cook in the end zone 3 seconds before the ball gets there? That should have been pass interference, ball on the 1 yard line instead of the Raiders settling for a 26-yard field goal. Look, the scale was balanced out, man. It was balanced out. Carlos Garcia says, do you think the AFC West is wide open after tonight? No, I don't. I still think that it's a two-team race as of right now. The Chiefs and the Broncos. And right now, the Broncos are living dangerously. As a matter of fact, I think the Broncos could easily go to Los Angeles and lose this week with no E-Man Sand. And you're going to be without Isaiah McKenzie. Cody Latimer still out. So you're really thin at receiver. You're going to see a lot of guys that you shouldn't be really comfortable having on the field at receiver, and you're going to have to lean heavily on Demaryius Thomas. They could easily lose that game. I still think this is the Chiefs' division to lose. And if they slip up, I think the benefactor would be the Denver Broncos. But I'm not willing to count the Raiders out, but they're still not at 500, so I refuse to talk about the Raiders making any kind of power moves. Before I can talk about you making a power move, you first must get back to 500. And then you look at the Raiders, they're 1-2 in the division. You know the rules to the game, then play. If you can't finish at least 500 in your division, you don't get to win your division. You don't even get to go to the playoffs. That's a rule. That's one of the Louie T rules. You don't finish with at least a 500 mark in your division, you don't get to go to the playoffs. Playoffs? What? Playoffs? You gotta hope you win another game in your division. Ain't no way you're going to the playoffs. And so they're already behind the 8 ball. They've played 2 out of their 3 divisional games at home, and they've dropped 1. They won 1. Could have easily lost all 3 of them, and 2 of them would have been at home. So now you got to go to L.A., which that's really not going to be a road game for you. That should be a home game, but you still got to go there to win. And you got to go to Kansas City, where you routinely struggle, and you got Denver. And they don't have a problem coming into Oakland and beating you, so we'll see what happens. But I don't think it's wide open still yet. Still think this is Kansas City's division to lose, but we'll see what happens. Dark Sealer 1995 says, where the heck is the Chiefs pass rush? I'm sick and tired of seeing Justin Houston dropping into coverage even though he's slow, and I'm also seeing a 3-man pass rush. Bob Sutton was getting away with that 3-man rush and dropping 8 early in the season. He's got to stop that shit. And tonight, there was a steady diet of 4-man rushes that just didn't hit home. All right? Bottom line is, the guys aren't winning. D Ford isn't winning. Justin Houston isn't winning. Chris Jones isn't winning. They're not winning up front. Okay? Benny Logan isn't winning. They brought him from Philadelphia to be a quick interior guy that could get pressure on the quarterback and stop the run. They're not winning. And it's killing them because that secondary isn't good enough to hold up on its own. They need pressure from their front 4, and they're just not getting it right now. Dre True Statement says, Tyreek Hill is a freak. Did not know he could run routes so crisply. I didn't think he would evolve at receiver the way that he has so quickly. He just blows my mind with the things that he's capable of doing on the football field. He's one of the best in the game right now, man. I mean, when you start rattling off names of impact players at the receiver position, you shouldn't be able to get 7 names down the list before you say Tyreek Hill's name. Straight up. I know there are a lot of beast receivers in this league. You need to start mentioning his name when you start rattling off names of impact receivers because this guy can do it all. He can run the tough routes, take the shot, get up. He can run the deep routes and extend your defense and take the top off. He can run the short stuff. That's easy money for him because you're bailing because of the speed. You're giving him the 8-yard stop. You're giving him the 5-yard out. You're giving him the 8-yard comeback, that 10 back to 8, the 12 back to 10. You're giving that up because you're afraid of the speed. So his ability to run routes is amazing. Cloud says, do you think Tyreek Hill is a number 1 receiver? Absolutely. Absolutely. When he first came in the league, no way. No way. Right now, he's one of the best receivers. Damn, just being a number 1. He's one of the best number 1s in the league. Dark Sealer 1995 says, the Chiefs tried playing that zone defense, but they don't have the linebackers like Shazier and Williams and Watt and Dupree to close in on guys fast and travel with guys. They don't. They're just not athletic enough. That's why they like bringing Sorensen down into the box, but it doesn't matter. They're just not athletic enough to do that, and it's costing them. So, we'll see what happens. They got to make an adjustment. I think Bob Sutton's got to realize that it was working earlier in the season, dropping 8, rushing 3. That was cool earlier. He's got to realize now that, all right, we got to start. I'm not saying you got to turn into a blitz-happy defensive coordinator, but in key spots, he's got to mix it up. Sometimes you drop 8, sometimes you come with 6 or 7. And just trust that your guys can play man-to-man on the back end or play some zone behind it if you don't trust guys to play man-to-man. But in no shape, way, or form can he continue to just rush forward and have guys not win. They're going to get eaten alive in that secondary. Jay Orion says, I have no idea who's going to win the Super Bowl this year. The season is all over the place. That's what makes this season so much fun, is that the parity in the league right now is the most widespread I've ever seen. I've been watching football my entire life. I've never seen a league where all the teams are so closely linked together in terms of talent and ability to win. On any given Sunday, anyone can get beat in this league this year, and that's going to make for a fascinating playoffs when we get there, and even a finish to the season. We're going to have a lot of teams that just miss out, but we're going to have, that in the hunt column at the end of the season when the playoff race is being commenced, we're going to have a lot of teams in the hunt this year. Brandon C says, who takes the AFC West? Right now, I still think this is the Chiefs division to lose, followed by the Broncos. But like I said, I'm going to watch the Raiders closely because this could be the turning point of their season. And the Chiefs could hit a rough patch here. The Chiefs could drop their next game, and all of a sudden it gets really interesting then, because if the Chiefs drop their next game, and let's say the Raiders win their next game, and they get back to 500 at 4-4, and then the Chiefs are 5-3, you're one game out of first place. Think about that. So, I mean, it's still wide open, but I still give the nod to the Chiefs right now. Alex says, a Chiefs loss means the Eagles have the best record in the NFL. Not bad for a team you predicted to be 2-4 going into this Monday night game. The Eagles have been outstanding. They have, but we're going to see if they can continue. It's one thing to start the season off hot. The Eagles did it last year. Started off the season 3-0. And what came of their season then? So, I mean, of course, 5-1 is not 3-0. They've exceeded what they did last year, but they can still fall flat on their face this year. Anything can happen. Injuries can happen. They could hit a rough patch in their season. The breaks could not go their way. They're getting a lot of breaks right now. The ball is bouncing their way. They could easily have some breaks go against them. They could lose some close ball games. These close games that they're finding ways to win, they could easily find a way to lose these games. Instead of beating Los Angeles in Los Angeles earlier in the season, that could easily turn into a loss. In those types of games, you're going to play a lot of close games moving forward. And they really haven't gotten into the meat and potato of their NFC East schedule yet. Haven't seen the Cowboys at all yet. This is their last game with the Redskins. Still got one more game with the Giants. Don't care how bad the Giants are. It's going to be a tough game for the Eagles because it's family business. So, absolutely, the Eagles have far exceeded what anybody thought they were going to be at this point in the season. But still a lot of football left to be played. Stormtrooper 2817 says, I am just so happy that the Raiders beat the Chiefs. Think it's a game of the year. Absolutely game of the year. No doubt, Stormtrooper. Right now, this is the best game we've seen collectively all season long. Dre True Statement says, I'm trying to figure out why everyone is shocked at the lackluster play of Beast Mode. He is definitely not being used right, and you can't miss a year of football and workouts and be elite. I feel like if the Raiders gave him more opportunities, he'd be a much more imposing figure for that offense, but that's just not who they are. Like, you can't ask a tiger to change its stripes. The Raiders, they win on the right arm of Derek Carr. They want to run the football, be balanced, but they're not about to give Beast Mode 25 carries. That's not what they're about. They'll give him 13. They'll give Jalen Richard 7. They'll give the other back, Richardson? Damn, I forgot his name that quick. They'll give him another 4 or 5 touches out of the backfield, and they'll keep it moving, man. Like, they're not about to give him 25 carries. That's not how this offense is set up. And so you got to know that that's how they're going to conduct business with him. And so they're not using him right, but I don't even feel like half the time he's mentally there. Like, there are games, they're in the fourth quarter in a tightly contested battle, and this man will have a skull cap on his head. The same one, when he got ejected, he went to the sidelines to go get. Washington is his name. The other back. He went and got his skull cap. The same one that I'll see him in the fourth quarter with 7 minutes left in a tightly contested ball. He don't got his helmet nowhere near him. He had a skull cap on his head. He chilling eating sunflower seeds like it's a preseason game. I'm like, did I miss something? Is there a rule that says he doesn't play in the fourth quarter or something? So I just think that this has not been a match made in heaven like everyone thought before the season started. Bernard543 says, Raiders, baby. Bowman played really well for me. Heard they gave him communications. That helps the D tremendously. They did give him the communications. He had the green dot on his helmet. Thought he was good. I didn't think he was great. I thought, like I said, he gave up the touchdown, and he's going to be a liability in the passing game. If I'm the Raiders, I don't ask him to drop into pass coverage very often. He's going to struggle with that like he did tonight against Travis Kelce. That being said, you saw him blitz. That was effective. You saw what he can be in the run game. He's still one of the better inside run-stuffing linebackers in this league. So he's going to upgrade the position for the Raiders, no doubt about it. Stormtrooper 2817 says, Lynch has had problems. Either the O-line isn't playing well, he isn't playing well, or the Raiders OC isn't giving him carries. Why do you think that is? I think that they haven't given him enough touches. That's number one. He's a guy that as the game progresses and the more he touches it, the more he wears on the defense. And then at the end of the game, that's when he starts. Remember the Tennessee game? That was, to me, his best game of the season. Statistically, the Chargers game that you just lost was his best game, statistically. But remember that first game against Tennessee and how he was running over Titans defenders late in that ball game? And when you needed to run out the clock to win that game, you kept turning around and handing him the football late in that game, and he delivered. That's what he is. A guy that as the game progresses and the defense wears down, you keep giving him touches, he's going to become more and more tougher to stop. They're just not, they haven't made that commitment to him in the run game, and I think that's why he's struggling. But he's not the same player anymore. Let's not make any, let's not mix any words or try to put the blame on everyone else other than him. He's not the same guy anymore. Bernard543 says, Lynch just isn't good anymore, LOL. Our offense moved so much more when he wasn't playing. It's hard to ignore the fact that when he wasn't in the game, this football team went up and down the field offensively. Alex says, Crabtree extended the arm on the OPI, but Peters grabbed Krabs a little bit and he slipped. I guess the call was fair, but it wasn't that bad. No, it was OPI. You can't do that with the game on the line. You can't push off like that. Yeah, he had his hands on him, but that's that jostling that goes back and forth. But he pushed off. It's one thing to say, hey, get your hands off me, swim the arm off, and maybe give him a little elbow. That was a full push. Like, no, get off of me. Can't do that. Atlas says, you're looking at this ref issue entirely the wrong way. You can't assume the results of a change call here or there true. However, the fact that erroneous calls still happen is awful. No doubt. They missed calls in this game, but they all balance themselves out. At the end of the day, if they make the proper calls in the right situations, it does alter the outcome of the game in the way that it's played moving forward. But again, you can't make excuses for yourself and try to blame the officials. You had an opportunity, 2nd and 20, to get off the field. You had an opportunity, 4th and 10, to get off the field. You had an opportunity with one untimed down from the 11-yard line, and you failed. You had another untimed down from the 7. You failed. You had another untimed down from the 2. You failed. There's no one to blame in this game but yourself. So yes, the officials made some poor calls, non-calls, etc. But at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, you had opportunities, countless, various opportunities to go and win this game, and you didn't do it. There's no one to blame but yourself. Stop looking for a scapegoat. Bernard543 says, couldn't agree more. Game was great. It was a great win, but there's definitely more to be done. Vegeta's Dark Side says, Broncos, really? They lost to a team that lost their best offensive player in Brandon Marshall. How can the Broncos be a favorite if the Chiefs don't get it? Because The Broncos have already beaten the Raiders once. The Broncos are 3-2 on the season. They got a chance to go to 4-2 with a big win in the division if they can find a way to beat the Chargers in L.A. And the Broncos, believe it or not, do play defense. Defense does win in this league. That loss against the Giants, look, say what you want about their defense not stepping up in the game, which it did, and they gave it up on the ground. But their offense was putrid in that game. They turned it over, pick six. They made a ton of mistakes. They lost that football game on the offensive side of the football and on special teams. And the defense, they played well enough to win that game. They only gave up 16 points to the Giants. You're supposed to win when you give up 16. Problem is, your offense scored 10 and gave up 7. Their defense is good enough to win them games, and they can run the football. That's why the Broncos. Defense and run game travels. They're one of the few teams in this division that actually plays defense. Might be the only one. Because when I look at the Chargers, you can run on the Chargers. They got one of the best pass rushers in the league in Ingram and Bosa, but you can run on the Chargers. So, Broncos might be the one team in the division that can actually play defense. Last game against the Giants was the first game they gave it up on the ground this season. Other than that, they've been outstanding against the run and pass. That's why the Broncos. Defense travels. You can take that anywhere. Pack it up, take it on the road, get you a road victory. You can do that with defense and a run game. Trevor Siemian worries me. These injuries worry me. But if I had to pick someone else after Kansas City to be next in line, it'd be Denver before I pick the Raiders. And again, don't talk to me about the Raiders until they get back to 500. Dark Sealer 1995 says, I think I'm most disappointed with Marcus Peters. He has too many pass interference penalties. Marcus Peters, he's a head case. I've said this numerous times. I love his spirit. I love the tenacity with which he plays the game. But you can get in his head, and he can be beat. He's not one of these guys that you can't go at. You should be afraid. You know, like if you continue to go to the well, he's going to make you pay. I think if you strategically go after Marcus Peters, you can win. The Redskins went after him and scored 2 touchdowns against him on a Monday night. I don't think he's like Janoris Jenkins where he's like, okay, keep coming at me if you want to. I'm going to force a fumble and I'm going to pick you off and take you to the crib. I don't know if that's Marcus Peters. I know he has the capability to do that, but I think you can go after Marcus Peters. I do. We'll see though. Dark Sealer 1995 says, Bob Sutton has let the game pass him by. If a 3 to 4 man rush isn't getting there, then you need to dial up pressure because you can't depend on the secondary to hold up for 5 seconds. Look, he's been doing it for a long time. Bob Sutton's no idiot. It's been working. They got out to a 5-0 start to the season, doing that same thing, running 3 and 4 man pressures. It just hasn't worked of late, and now he's got to go back to the drawing board and make some adjustments. I expect him to do so. If he doesn't, then we can start questioning his decision-making. But for me, I'm not going to second-guess him right now, but you would love to see him make in-game adjustments. Look, you're not getting home with 4. You're not getting home with 3 or 4. Dial up some pressures in a critical situation. Come after the Raiders and see how they respond to that. He never did. Chief Keef says, so pissed about this loss. The bright side is we have a Monday night game next week, so we'll have tons of time to prepare. I blame this loss on the coaching staff and coordinators. I can see why you would do that. I thought Andy Reid went soft on us at the end. I thought Andy Reid went very conservative late in this ball game. With an opportunity to go and win this game, you've been converting 3rd downs like your mind was going bad throughout the course of this game. You decide you want to throw a screen. Travis Kelce, I blame him for the other non-3rd down conversion because on a 2nd and 9, Alex Smith puts the ball on you in perfect timing and rhythm of the play that you can turn up the field and get the 1st down. You instead decide to go finesse on me and want to go backwards a yard, get tackled, and set up a 3rd and 5. That the Raiders, unlike the Chiefs, dialed up pressure, sent Navarro Bowman, who hit home and forced Alex Smith to make a throw that was incomplete and forced a punt. And so I thought at the end of this game, the Chiefs were out-schemed in this game. The Chiefs were out-executed in this game. And yeah, I think you put the blame on the coaching staff and coordinators for that at the end of this football game. So I'd have to agree with you there. Bernard543 says, Balanced refs, 2 elite quarterbacks going head-to-head, so much on the line, game of the year for me, without a doubt. I thought this was an outstanding football game. Stormtrooper says this was a transport back to the late 60s, early 70s. Fights, crazy plays, amazing ending, AFC West, and specifically Chiefs Raiders, just awesome. Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. A little less physical than the 60s and 70s where guys were getting their head taken off, but everything else was pretty much spot on. Cloud says, yeah, the refs can be terrible in this game, but both had bad calls. Both had a chance to win. One team capitalized, other team didn't. I couldn't have said it any better myself, Cloud. That's essentially what I've been saying for the last 30 minutes, but that pretty much sums it up there. Bernard543 says, Raiders had many chances to pick Alex Smith off. I don't think they like INTs. I don't think they have one on the season yet. They had chances in this game. I don't know what more you want Alex Smith to do. I mean, Keith McGill, you got to catch that football, man. I don't know what else. The one for Carl Joseph, that was tough because Kelsey deflected that football. That's why he didn't catch that one. But Keith McGill, you got to catch the football, man. I don't know what else you want them to do. Dre True Statement says, facts. I like Peters, but you can out-physical him. He turns to mush. He's good, but he can be beat. I agree. I think you can beat Marcus Peters. I love his game, though, and I love his competitive spirit, but he can be beaten. And I've seen it happen throughout the course of this season. So, in any event, what a game. Raiders get the win 31-30 in the craziest ending that you will see in an NFL game. Obviously, this is the game of the year to this point. Ebbs and flows, back and forth, tons of lead changes, and one final decisive lead change with no more time left on the clock. Almost missed extra point where your heart comes out of your chest if you're a Raiders fan. This game had everything, a fight, an ejection, bad calls, missed calls. You name it, this game had it. But at the end of the day, the Raiders found a way to make that one play that the Chiefs just didn't seem to be able to make, and they get the win to potentially save their season, 31-30, snapping a 4-game skid, getting to 3-4 in the season, and more importantly, potentially giving them a chance to fight and battle back in the AFC West division. Chiefs let one slip through their fingers, had every opportunity to win this game and didn't make the one play that they needed. They just needed a play. Could have came on offense on a 2nd and 9 by Travis Kelce that he blew. Could have came on offense on a 3rd and 4 instead of throwing a screen, calling a screenplay. Could have just called your offense the way you've been converting 3rd and manageable all night long. Instead, you go screen, and the Raiders were prepared for it. It could have been on defense, 2nd and 20. After an OPI call on Holton that you blow and give up 25 yards on the next play. Could have been 4th and 10 on a pass over the middle to Jared Cook in which Eric Murray, who struggled all night long, gave it up. Could have been on an untimed down from the 11-yard line after the OPI set the Raiders back to the – it wasn't an untimed down. It was like 3 seconds left. Would have been game over. From the 11. Instead, you get a pass and a holding penalty. Could have been after Cordero Patterson couldn't hold on in the back of the end zone. But you got another holding penalty. And then you finally ultimately lose the game. You had chances. You couldn't make the play. The Raiders did. They win the game. And so now that's 2 straight losses after 5 straight to start the season winning-wise for the Chiefs. They're now 5-2. Still have a sizable lead in the AFC West division. But a Broncos win versus the Chargers will close the gap to just 1 game in the division. And so we'll see what happens. But this was an epic ball game on a Thursday night as the Raiders get it done. I am Louie T. I thank you for staying up late with me tonight on this telecast, Thursday Night Football overtime. What a game it was. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here on the Louie T Network. Come back and join me as I continue to break down anything and everything in the National Football League. Wow. That's the perfect way to start off Week 7. I hope there's more of this in store for us as this week progresses. Wow. What a way to kick off Week 7 in the National Football League. The Oakland Raiders, best their divisional rivals in the game, the City Chiefs, 31-30 in an epic thriller. I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. Remember, if you can donate, please do. Those are the ways to do so via Patreon. Your special teams is a mess. Via Patreon and PayPal. With that being said, I'm going to call it a night. Thank you for joining me. We up late, still great. Y'all have a great one. Enjoy your weekend. I'll see you on Sunday. Have a good one.